Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. I made it. 303. So, yeah, we're going to be getting into a whole new literary works this time around. The book itself is just called The Secret Destiny of America, but it includes two classic works on the mysterious origins and unique mission of America. We just finished The Secret Destiny of America, and we're jumping into America's Assignment with Destiny, and this is written by Manly P. Hall. Um, I was working on a project too, and then I was like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I didn't. I need to set out this microphone so that it's further or closer to my face. I have this whole looping system. It's really high tech. I use some string. That string actually, oh my gosh, people they love that thick rainbow string like that. Like all the hats I ever made with that yarn, they gravitated to it. Okay. Oh, righty. Oh, the glasses for the reading. See, I'm super prepared, right? No worries. We'll get to it. Where is that awesome cloth? Here it is. Let's clean these real quick. And then we'll do it to it. Chapstick, water, book. Okay. So there's some more pictures in this, and I mean, like, I just like flipped through it real fast. So let's find out what it's about. Forward. Those desiring substantial evidence of the unfoldment of the great plan should follow the suggestion inscribed upon the monument to Christopher Wren in St. Paul's Cathedral and gaze about them. The rapid advancement in the social and political states of man, the increasing richness of human living, and the broadening vision towards individual and collective responsibility herald, with auroral colors, the rising sun of truth. There is much yet to be accomplished, but already the achievement is impressive. Even the most devout humanist cannot survey the orderly progress of the race and at the same time deny the existence of a well-integrated program. The light of the ancient Vedas is slowly but surely illuminating the whole world. The vision of man's noble destiny and the sacred sciences which made possible the realization of that vision have been guarded and served by the silent ones of the earth. The priesthoods of the sacerdotal, even if that word was on one line. I don't know if I've ever come across it. Okay, let's read the sentence and then we'll come back and assess. The priesthoods of the sacerdotal colleges, the hierophants of the mystery schools, and the adept masters of the secret societies have been the guardians of man's noblest purpose, the perfection of his own kind. Sacerdotal. Well, let's just look it up, eh? Sacerdotal. Hey, angelfish! Yes! Gamecock! It's a small fowl bird. Who knew? Okay, sacerdotal. Let's see how awesomely I'm pronouncing that word. Sacerdotal definition. Sacerdotal. Is there?
Sacerdotal.
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 Sacerdotal. Sacerdotal. Sacerdotal. Okay. Relating to priests or the priesthood. Priestly. Sacerdotal. That's how she says it. Okay. Sacerdotal. Gamecock. The priesthoods of the sacerdotal colleges, the hierophants of the mystery schools, and the adept masters of the secret societies have been the guardians of man's noblest purpose, the perfection of his own kind. It is the inalienable right of every honorable person to be grateful for the opportunities which progress bestows. With this appreciation comes also the appropriate measure of resolution. The past proves the future, which is but the extension of good works towards their fullness. So, right, the idea of progress. Hmm. The mystery schools neither restrained nor limited the unfoldment of human institutions. Man fashioned his civilization according to his natural instincts and convictions. This process must continue, for growth is not hastened by the interference of authority. Man substantiates with his mind and heart that which he fashions with his hands. The esoteric tradition ensouls the ordinary works, that's in quotes, revealing the larger purposes through the smaller ones. Not so long ago, 90% of the population of the earth was in physical slavery. Having liberated his body, the audacious creature must now free his heart and mind. Thus, pressed on by the sovereign necessity, the world conqueror becomes the self conqueror. Yeah. That's the first thing basically that I have written on my aspiration board up there, which has been up there for a really long time. I haven't changed it, but heal yourself, heal the world, right? Got to start. All right. Why did I feel so compelled to share that? I did though. Under a democratic concept of living, the responsibilities for progress pass to the keeping of the people. The powers vested in the governing body functioning with the consent of the governed include not only provisions for collective security, but also the advancement of such religions, philosophies, arts, and sciences as contribute to the essential growth of human character. An administrative system which ignores ethics, culture, and morality cannot survive as a dominant political organism. Democratic institutions must accept the task for which they were fashioned and become the conscious custodians of the democratic destiny. Progress demands the most from those with the largest spheres of influence. Vast organizations, industrial, political, social, and educational, have been made possible by the modern lifeway. These have become the molders of public opinion, feared or respected according to the measure of integrity revealed in their management. That's a good sentence. The future of human society is intimately associated with the destinies of these vast enterprises, which have inherited, along with physical success, the duty, or more correctly, the privilege of world guardianship. Even the continuance of the economic theory now demands the strengthening of ethical convictions. Prominence of any kind, whether bestowed by wealth or authority, carries with it priestly obligations. The leader, whatever be his field, is looked upon for intelligent guidance. His convictions inspire his followers, his words influence their lives, and his policies dominate their activities. There is every indication that the esoteric tradition will next function through that complex of vast irrelated organisms of production and distribution which now dominates human imagination. There is every indication that the esoteric tradition will next function through that complex of vast interrelated organisms of production and distribution which now dominates human imagination. While this structure may appear to the superficial minded as heartless and soulless, it is also the largest and most powerful potential instrument for the advancement of mankind ever yet devised. Education, science, and economics are today invisible. They have already formed a partnership for their mutual advancement. Equipped with knowledge, skill, and the necessary physical resources, this huge combine awaits the destiny for which it was intended. There is no virtue in burdening the future with the conclusions of today. To prophesy is to restrict, not the will of heaven, but the mind of man. Old principles, as they reveal more of themselves, will be given new names. And progress is always an adjustment of concepts, each of which is in a constant state of change. Assuming, however, that the term democracy, with its numerous imponderable overtones, conveys a conviction of natural unfoldment, it is reasonable to infer that the democratic motion will continue until all of its potentials have become potencies. Excuse me, I need to cough for just a moment. Mother of pearls. I didn't do a very good job of keeping my spot. I picked my book up backwards and I don't have. All right. Potentials have become potencies. Progress is not bound inevitably to any nation or people. Social and political structures are instruments for the advancement of the great work, only to the degree that they keep the faith. If ambition or selfishness breaks the bond, the privilege of guardianship is forfeited. This does not mean that the project fails. Rather, that which fails the project loses the privilege of leadership. The plan then passes to the keeping of other groups and other ages. Man cannot destroy or pervert the works of destiny. He can only divide himself from those works, and by doing so, cease to share in the essential vitality of progress. Thus, it is that unreasonable doubts and fears concerning providence are philosophically unsound. Failure is always regrettable, but principles do not fail, and that which is foreordained perfects itself. Although empires may collapse, great teachers be martyred, schools and systems perish, the enlightened leaders remain unhonored. The substance of the great work remains unchanged and unchangeable. New vehicles appear, even as the older ones are betrayed by human selfishness. The Eternal Commonwealth is an assignment of destiny, and spiritual progress, symbolized by the fabled phoenix, rises victoriously from the ashes of the human ruin. The adept tradition has always available social instruments waiting to be ensouled with the larger vision. All things created by men are mortal and destructible, but the way destined by heaven is immortal and indestructible. Universal enlightenment and universal fraternity are the natural ends which reward the social struggle. The world and all that inhabits it are moving triumphantly towards peace and security. At any given time, the vision may be obscured, but in the larger dimensions of time, all things work together for the fulfillment of the greater good. Manly P. Hall, Los Angeles, California, April 1951. Ooh, cool. Okay. Quetzalcoatl. I think that's how Steve's was showing me with his letters that that's how you say it. Quetzalcoatl. Oh my gosh, Chrissy, my girl! Yay! I think about you too every day. Oh my gosh, dude. Dude, I'm loving the readings. I'm so thankful you're here. It's so cool, right? The books and the knowledges and the information that we get to think about and the pictures and okay. Here we go. Yeah. Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl. Three great culture heroes were associated with the origin of Mayan civilization. Votan, who founded the Votanic Empire seated at Palenque, Itzama or Zamna, and Yucatecan hero, and Kukulkan, whose worship extended throughout the Central American area. Oh man, those are some. All right, so I'm sure of their time they weren't like they're just not like letters I've mostly come across, right? Kukulkan, I know that one, right? All three came from a remote region lying eastward, introduced arts and sciences, and founded religious cults or mysteries. From the legendary histories of these persons, they should be included as adepts or initiates of ancient secret schools, possibly Atlantean. In a book written in the Quichean language and attributed to Votan, the Great One declared himself a snake and a descendant of Emos of the line of Chan. He came to America by the command of God from the distant place. He ultimately founded Palenque and built a temple with many subterranean chambers, which was called the House of Darkness. Here he deposited the records of his nation in the keeping of certain aged men called guardians. There is a legend that this Votan was the grandson of Noah. The original book containing this report was in the possessions of Nunex de la Vega, bishop of Chiapas, but he destroyed it with the other native manuscripts which he was able to accumulate. Fortunately, however, it had been copied by Aguilar. Okay, so there's a picture here from the Codex Dresden. Itzamna, the father of the Itzas, the old god with elaborate headdress and cape, is seated at right and appears to be addressing a lesser divinity who faces him at left. Is it in there? Ooh, yeah. Cool. Itzamna, according to Kogulodu, was a priest who came with the migrations from the east. He was the son of the supreme deity, Hunab Ku, the Holy One. Itzamna is pictured as an ancient man with a very prominent and strangely shaped nose, either toothless or with one crooked fang. Likenesses of him have been found indicating his birth from a plant growing from the earth. He is also shown rising from the mouth of a serpent or a turtle to symbolize that he came from the sea. He healed the sick and restored the dead to life. He lived to a great age and was said to have been buried at Itzamal, where his tombs became places of pilgrimages. Itzamna was sometimes called the skillful hand. After his death, his body was divided. His skillful hand was placed in one temple, his heart in another, and the rest of his remains in a third. One of the best known of his emblems was a Tau or T cross. It is now generally admitted that the Quetzalcoatl and the Nahuatl people, the Gukumats of the Quiches, and the Kukulkan of the more southern Mayas were one person. Ooh. In each language, the word signifies feathered, plumed, or winged serpent. This, ti- this title may have resulted from Quetzalcoatl casting his lot among or gathering his first followers from the descendants of Votan. This tribal group had the serpent as its heraldic device. At a remote time, this system uh, semi mystical. Ooh, okay. At a remote time, this semi mystical, semi divine priest initiate Quetzalcoatl came from the fabled land of the seven colors and established his right at Tula and Cholula. Oh, huh. Que- uh, Quetzalcoatl was the initiate philosopher and teacher of the Nahuatlan tribes of central Mexico. Among the appellations of this priest prophet king are he who was born of the Virgin, Lord of the Winds, and the divine incarnation. Quetzalcoatl was the son of the universal creator god and the Virgin Xochiquetzal, Xochiquetzal, and his conception was made known by an ambassador from the god of the Milky Way. Torquemada, in his Indian monarchies, described a band of people who came from the north dressed in long black robes. Arriving at Tula, these strangers were well received, but finding the religion already thickly populated, they continued to Cholula. These wanderers were great artists and skilled in working metals. Quetzalcoatl was their leader. Mendieta, in his essential or ecclesiastical history, described Quetzalcoatl as a white man with a strong formation of body, broad forehead, large eyes, and a flowing beard. He wore a mitre on his head and was dressed in a long white robe reaching to his feet and covered with a design of red crosses. In his hand, he held a sickle. His habits were ascetic. He never married and was most chaste and pure in his life, and is said to have endured penance in a neighboring mountain, not for its effect upon himself, but as an example to others. He condemned sacrifices, except of fruit or flowers, and was known as the god of peace, for when addressed on the subject of war, he, he is reported to have stopped his ears with his fingers. There's a little like asterisk up here, and then it says, see The North Americans of Antiquity by John T. Short, New York, 1880. Fray Bernardino de Sahagún described Quetzalcoatl as very homely, with a long head and a very long beard. There was a recumbent statue of him in the temple at Tula, which was always covered with blankets. His vassals, writes the good Fray, were all workmen in the mechanic arts and skillful in cutting the green stones called calcivities, or chalchivities. Also, in the art of smelting silver and making other objects. All these arts had their origin and commencement with Quetzalcoatl, who had houses made with these precious green stones called calcivities, and others made of silver, still others made of red and white shells, others all made of boards, and again others of turquoises, and some all made of rich plumes. Quetzalcoatl also owned all the wealth of the world in gold, silver, and the green stones called calcivities, and other precious things, and had a great abundance of cocoa trees of different colors, which are called I wonder how do you pronounce the X when it's the first letter? like Zenas. Is it like Xena? Zak Zakikaka Zach Zachis Zachikaka Ka Zachika Catlao. Zachika Catlao. Cocoa trees of different colors, which are called Zochica cacao. So it's like cacao. Zochica cacao. Catlao. Catlao. Oh no. There's so many big words. Oh my gosh. It's Chalchivites. 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 Calcivites? Calcivites? Okay. This is pretty rough. Oh gosh. Zochica Catlao. The said vassals of Quetzalcoatl were also very wealthy and did not lack anything at all. They never suffered famine or lack of corn. They never ate even the small ears of corn, but rather heated their baths with them, using them instead of firewood. They also say that the said Quetzalcoatl did penance by pricking his limbs and drawing blood, with which he stained the moggy points, that he bathed at midnight in a spring called Zicapaya. And that one says, see a history of ancient Mexico. Zicapaya. Interesting. I know, right? We do need to write it down so we can research what that stone is. It's a good idea. Thank you, Chrissy. Quetzalcoatl. Is that really how you say it? Zicapaya. All right, so yeah, Chalchivites. Boop. All right. Notes and notes and notes. The interpreter of the Codex, Telleriano Ramensis, said that Quetzalcoatl was created by the breath of Tanacahtli. Quetzalcoatl was born on the day of 7 Cains and disappeared or died on the day of 1 Cain. He was identified with the planet Venus. The Codex Vaticanus A says that the hero founded 4 temples, the first for the princes, the second for the people, the third for the house of fear or serpents, and the fourth the temple of shame. The Codex Chimalpopoca says that Quetzalcoatl was born as a 9-year-old child. Wow. When he resolved to leave Mexico, he reached the seashore and, removing his clothing and his snake mask of turquoise, destroyed himself by fire. His ashes changed into birds, and his heart became the morning star. He remained 4 days in the underworld and 4 days as a corpse. After that, he ascended to heaven as a god. It is specifically mentioned by Sahagun that Quetzalcoatl created and built houses under the earth. Traces of subterranean grottos and rooms have been discovered in the vicinity of most of the architectural monuments of the Nahuas. There is a vast complex of such apartments near the Pyramid of the Sun at San Juan, Teotihuacan. The Amerindians believed the serpent to be an earth dweller, and it is quite possible that the accounts implied these subterranean and secret places to be chambers of initiation into the mysteries of the cult. According to the Borborg, the Mexican demigod Votan made a journey through a subterranean passage which, running underground, terminated at the root of heaven. The root of heaven. Like those giant trees? This passage was a snake's hole, and Votan was admitted because he was himself a son of the snake. Quetzalcoatl appeared as a great sorcerer, magician, or necromancer. He performed miracles, and upon his departure, his secrets were entrusted to an order of priests governed by a hierophant or master. This priesthood practiced the arts and sciences, treated the sick, administered sacraments, and were diviners and prophets. Landa gives some consideration to the activities of these religious orders. Awesome. I think it was yesterday that Jackie was saying 333. So cool. So we have a picture of Quetzalcoatl as god of the wind and presiding deity over the region of the East. And this is from Sellers Codex Vaticanus, NR 3773. It's so fascinating, right? I agree. Lucien Biart summarizes the available data. The most contradictory ideas have been current in regard to this divinity, who, now considered of celestial origin, and now regarded as a man who had acquired the immortality of the gods, seems in reality to be a union of several personages. He certainly belonged to a race other than the one he civilized, but what was his country? He died announcing that he would return at the head of white-faced men, and we have seen that the Indians believed his prophecy fulfilled when the Spaniards landed on the shores. According to Sahagun, I don't know how that's really pronounced, the most usual ornaments of the images of Quetzalcoatl were a mitre spotted like the skin of a tiger, a short embroidered tunic, turquoise earrings, and a golden collar supported fine shells. The legs of these images were encased in gaiters of tiger skins, and on their feet were black sandals. A shield hung from the left arm, and in the right hand was a scepter ornamented with precious stones, an emblem which terminated in a crook like a bishop's crosier. And then that says, see the Aztecs, their history, manners, and customs, Chicago, 1929. Quetzalcoatl is credited with the invention of the pictorial or hieroglyphical method of writing, and especially is his name associated with Tonalamatl, or Book of Fate. I have to write that down. Tonalamatl, or the Book of Fate. Ooh. Okay. I love you, Chrissy. Okay. This was more than a civil calendar and was reserved for the calculation of human destiny and prophecies concerning the future of the state. It was used by master magicians, the chief of whom was an astrological adept accredited with extraordinary occult powers. While it is likely that Quetzalcoatl brought the Tonalamadal, the Tonalamadal back to Mexico after his journey among the Mayas, a people already advanced in such matters, the Aztecan legend, Aztecan legend has been summarized by Mendieta. The gods had created a man, Oxomaco, and a woman, Sipactonatl, as the progenitors of the human race. They dwelt in a cave at Cuernavaca, in order to regulate their lives, these two resolved to devise a calendar. Sipactonatl felt that her descendant, Quetzalcoatl, should be invited to participate in the project. Because she was the mother of all the living and a great prophetess, Sipactonatl was privileged to select and write the first sign or day symbol of the calendar. The others followed until the 13 signs were completed. Sahagún, in his general history, gave a number of details of the struggle between Quetzalcoatl, the civilizer, and Tezcatlipoca, who apparently signified the primitive and sanguine religious cult of Mexico. Tezcatlipoca. The old priesthood, which practiced human sacrifice and adhered to a policy of war and destruction, resented the peaceful and gentle faith brought by Quetzalcoatl. In the end, Tezcatlipoca, the personification of the sorcerers, contrived to poison the God King, which implies that his doctrines were corrupted by false teachings and interpretations. The poison worked slowly, insidiously, until Quetzalcoatl, realizing that he could not combat successfully the old perverted priesthood, left Tula, ordering his palaces of gold and silver, turquoise, and precious stones to be set afire. Accompanied by a procession of musicians, youths, and maidens bearing flowers and flocks of singing birds, the old adept journeyed to Cholula, where the Great Pyramid was built in his honor. Okay, there's a picture of Quetzalcoatl here as the principal deity of the people of Cholula. From the Codex Ramirez. It was written that the Cholulans deeply admired the great priest because of the purity of his life, the kindliness of his manner, and his doctrines of peace and brotherhood. He remained with them for nearly 20 years, slowly sickening from the poison which was destroying his body. At last, he realized that his ministry was coming to an end, so he continued his long journey towards the mysterious city of Tlapalan, maybe the T silent, Tlapalan, Lapalan, from which he had come. He turned toward the east and proceeded to the sea, which he reached at a point a few miles south of Veracruz. There he blessed the 4 young men who had accompanied him and bade them return to their homes, with his purpose that one day in the future he would return and restore his kingdom among them. Then the old and weary men called to the sea, and out of the waters came a raft of serpents. He stepped upon his strange craft and was carried away into the land of the sun's beginning. He left behind him a priesthood that perpetuated with esoteric rites the mysteries of the feathered serpent. There is every indication that the cult of Quetzalcoatl was kept secret, a precaution necessary in the face of the opposition of the primitive indigenous sects. There are several accounts of the death or departure of Quetzalcoatl. Oh, that was the end of the sentence. There are several accounts of the death or departure of Quetzalcoatl. The conflict is due in part to the legends being derived from different tribes, and in part to the Spanish methods of gathering the reports. These invaders took slight interest in the native traditions until they had destroyed most of the available sources of information. Later, even the converted Indians were uncertain of their tribal history. There is reason to believe, however, that some sacred records were intentionally suppressed, and were never available to the missionaries. The people of Mexico claimed to have sacred accounts of the mysteries of their religion and their origin of their race. There is mention of the divine book written by Tezcucan, a wise man or wizard whose name means Lord of the Great Hand. This was supposed to contain the account of the migration of the Aztecs from Asia. Baron de Waldeck claimed that the book had once been in his possession. De Bourbourg thought it was the Dresden Codex, and Bustamante wrote that native historians had a copy in their possession at the time of the fall of Mexico. There is good probability that manuscripts of great value survived the Spanish colonial period and are still available to certain qualified persons. Augustus Leplongeon, known to the Yucatecans as Great Black Beard, was one of the few Americanists to be accepted into the confidence of the ever reticent Indians. They told him enough to convince a thoughtful man of the existence of esoteric schools in the Mayan area. That sacred mysteries, writes Leplongeon, have existed in America from times immemorial. There can be no doubt. Even setting aside the proofs of their existence that we gather from the monuments of Uxmal and the descriptions of the trials of initiation related in the sacred book of the Quiches, we find vestiges of them in various other countries of the Western continent. So there's a picture here of Augustus Leplongeon. The archaeologist is shown seated among the heads of feathered serpents, which he discovered in the ruins at Chichen Itza. Cool. From an original photograph. Wow. It's cool. Serpents. I know I can't. Okay. The rites and ceremonies of initiation were imported in Peru by the ancestors of Manco Capac, the founder of the Inca dynasty, who were colonists from Central America, as we learn from an unpublished MS written by a Jesuit father, Red. Anello Olivia. That was RED. At the beginning of the year 1631 in Lima, and now in the library of the British Museum of London. A number of authors have tried to prove that Quetzalcoatl was a foreigner who, reaching the shores of the New World at an early time, attempted the civilization of the Aboriginal tribes. Lord Kingsborough favored the possibility that this wanderer was the Apostle Thomas, and that the ancient Central American Indians came under Christian or Jewish influence. Always deeply concerned with the possibilities of linking the worship in the Americas with the religious of the Near East, his lordship writes, the Messiah is shadowed in the Old Testament under many types, such as those of a lion, a lamb, a roe, the morning star, or the planet Venus, otherwise called Lucifer. The sun, light, a rock, a stone, the branch, a vine, wine, bread, water, life, the way, and he is the recognized uh, and he is there recognized in the triple character of a king, a priest, and a prophet. It is very extraordinary that Quetzalcoatl, whom the Mexicans believed equally to have been a king, a prophet, and a pontiff, should also have been named by them Sayacatl, or the morning star. Tlavizcal Pantecutli, Tlavizcalpanteculti, or light, Mexitli, or the vine, for Torquemada said that the core of the aloe from which the Mexicans obtained wine was so called. Votan, or the heart, metaphorically signifying life, and Toiliatlacatl, manjar de nuestra veda, bread, for his body made of dough was eaten by the Mexicans. Las Casas, quoting Padre Francisco Hernandez, says that an old Yucatecan described the ancient religion of his people thus, that they recognized and believed in God who dwells in heaven, and that this God was Father and Son and Holy Spirit, and that the Father was called Icona, who had created men and all things, that the Son was called Bacab, and that he was born of a virgin called Tiberius, who is in heaven with God. The Holy Spirit they termed Echuach. Ooh, nice, Chrissy. The son, Bacab, was scourged and crowned with thorns, was tied upon a cross with extended arms where he died. But after 3 days, he arose and ascended into heaven to be with his Father. Dr. Alexander, who reports this story in his book, is inclined to feel that it is confused and probably distorted by the Spanish recorder. On the other hand, the universal distribution of the basic theme may be explained another way. Among the Lacadones, Quetzalcoatl is still represented as a snake with many heads. There is an account that this snake was killed and eaten at times of great national peril, especially at eclipses, which were regarded as portents of disaster. It was believed by the Mayas that Kukulkan descended invisibly from the sky and personally received the offerings during certain great feasts held in his honor. For details, consult The Mythology of All Ages, Volume 11, Latin America, by Hartley Burr Alexander. Awesome. Daniel Brinton, in his Essays of an Americanist, devoted some thought to the magical powers attributed to the priests of Central America. He mentioned Father Beza and an English priest, Thomas Gage, who reported cases of sorcerers transforming themselves into animals and performing miracles. De Bourbourg was not entirely convinced that ventriloquism, animal magnetism, or the tricks familiarly employed by conjurers explained the mysteries of Nagualism, as the black art of these Indians is called. Brinton quotes from the Popol Vuh, truly, this Gukumats, or Quetzalcoatl, became a wonderful king. Every 7 days he ascended to the sky, and every 7 days he followed the path to the abode of the dead. Every 7 days he put on the nature of a serpent, and he became truly a serpent. Every 7 days he put on the nature of an eagle, and again of a tiger, and he became truly an eagle and a tiger. It is evident from available authorities that the Mayas and Aztecs had an extensive body of legendary and lore, which originated in the mysteries of the religions and proves the existence of an elaborate system of secret rites and ceremonies. In the form of a feathered snake, Quetzalcoatl overshadowed a dynasty of rulers and priests, some of whom later assumed his name and even his mask symbol. These later Quetzalcoatls have been confused, like the several Zoroasters of Persia, into one person, with the resulting conflict in dates. Recent excavations would indicate that the cult of the feathered serpent was established before the beginning of the Christian era. It did not arise in the 10th or 11th century AD, as held by some modern archaeologists. It is more likely that the ancient hero was said to have been reborn or to have overshadowed a later leader of the nation. All the accounts imply that the religious order which served the mysteries of Quetzalcoatl was long established. Those who followed in the way which he had prescribed lived most severe lives. Children were consecrated to his temple from their birth and were marked by a special collar. At the end of the second year, the child was sacrificed in the breast. When he was 7 years old, it entered When it was 7 years old, it entered a seminary where it took vows covering personal conduct and public duties, including prayers for the preservation of its family and its nation. There were many of these priestly brotherhoods. There were many of these priestly brotherhoods, and the Spanish missionaries, in spite of their theological prejudices and intolerances, were forced to admit that the Aztecan priests were excellent scholars and lived austere and pure lives. It was said of these missionaries that in Quetzalcoatl, who taught charity, gentleness, and peace, they thought they saw a disciple of Jesus Christ. The kings of the Mexican nations, like those of ancient Egypt, were also initiates of the state mysteries. Torquemada described the attainments of Nazahualpili, Nazahualpili, the king of Texcoco, described the attainments of Nazahualpili, the king of Texcoco. This learned man gathered about him masters of the sciences and arts and gained a wide reputation as an astrologer and seer. When Montezuma was elected to rule over the complex of Nahuatlan nations, King Nazahualpili stood before the young man and congratulated the entire nation for having selected such a ruler, whose deep knowledge of heavenly things ensured to his subjects his comprehension of those of an earthly nature. And that says, see Kingsborough's Antiquities of Mexico. The interpreter of the collection of Mendoza described Montezuma as by nature wise, an astrologer and philosopher, and skilled and generally versed in all the arts, both in those of the military as well as those of a civil nature. And from his extreme gravity and state, the monarchy under his sway began to verge towards empire. There's this amusement park called it's right here, Cedar Point. And no, it's not even that. Is it? No, where is Montezuma's Revenge? Where is it? It's like a ride. Man, I mean, yeah. Are all things of ancient worlds just like have become like amusement rides? Amusement rides. Everything is like denigrating. Is that what we're? I don't know. I mean, yeah. All right. The great serpent clothed in Quetzal plumes. Quetzal's a bird, by the way, right? Yeah, Quetzal's a bird. The great serpent clothed in Quetzal plumes certainly belonged to another race and came from an unknown country. Lucent Biart says, it is an incontestable fact that Quetzalcoatl created a new religion based upon fasting, penitence, and virtue. In skillful trades and in metalworking, this Amerindian, oh no, have I been saying it wrong all this other time? Amerindian, no, yeah, Amerindian savior reminds one of the craftsmen of Tyre, capitalized, who cast the ornaments of Solomon's temple, Tyre. As a benefactor of his people, as a liberator of men's minds and hearts, this Nahuatlan demigod certainly revealed the attributes of the master builder. Chi. Oh wait, so XI is the chi sound because this is Chibaba, right? Chibaba. So yeah, I do apologize for all of those ridiculous pronunciations. Those are so many letters, and man, right? Maybe one day when I approach those words with my eyes, it'll just be like blam. I know exactly how to say them, right? Trace, welcome, my girl. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, more chapstick, and then we're going to get into the mysteries of Chibaba. Let's see how long this Mysteries of Chibaba is. Oh, it's just a little thing. Let's keep on keeping on. I don't even know what this last. I think I don't know if all of these works are. So it's not like there's chapters in this one. It's just a classic literary work by Manly P. Hall. Okay, so we're just going to probably go for like another 15, 20 minutes here. The Mysteries of Chibaba. Scattered through the jungle of Yucatan and extending northward into Chiapas and southward into Honduras and Guatemala are the remains of ancient cities and the ruins of old cultural centers, religious or educational, dedicated to scientific research and the investigation of the spiritual mysteries of human life. These shrines and temples are adorned with numerous religious emblems and figures. They closely resemble the temples and schools of the esoteric tradition, which were scattered through the Mediterranean countries, North Africa, and the Near East. The Aztecs inhabiting the Valley of Mexico certainly derived much of their cultural impetus from the more highly civilized Mayas. These Nahuas practiced elaborate rites and ceremonies and recognized a large pantheon of divinities. It seems unlikely that the Aztecs patterned their religious concepts from some inferior culture tradition. There are positive indications that the tribes of central Mexico had received an important intellectual stimulus from the Mayas and even found it expedient to acknowledge the indebtedness. The physical remains of the Mayan civilization are sufficiently impressive to indicate a highly advanced people whose religious institutions and rites had reached a considerable degree of refinement. Most early writers, in an attempt to estimate the cultural attainments of these nations, have been over-influenced by the early theologians and scientific enthusiasts who invaded the field with a variety of concepts and preconceptions. There's a picture here that says the black deity holding the spear is believed to represent the hero god Votan as he appears in the surviving manuscripts of the Mayas. Wow, it looks like a cartoon from the Codex Troano. I know, like, it's just, it won't focus up close, but that might be the sweetest spot. So yeah, what has he got there? It's like the hammer, a spear, a rock. There's animals and a sun, maybe. The empires of the Mayas and Aztecs were resplendent with edifices dedicated to their faiths. There were magnificent shrines, temples, and altars, some to sanguinary deities, and others to benign and kindly gods. The state mysteries, however, were seldom performed in the sanctuaries of popular worship. Neophytes traveled to remote places, and if they went uninvited, seldom returned. Throughout the jungles are the ruins of extraordinary buildings constructed for unknown purposes. That can't be the next page, right? Unknown purposes, period. There we go. The Mysteries of Chibaba, as recorded in the Popol Vuh and traditionally associated with the culture hero Votan, were given in such an architectural complex, which served as an entrance to the mysterious world beyond the dimensions of the material mind. Such gateways existed in all the old countries where the mystery religion originally flourished. Obviously, archaeologists cannot discover the secret rites merely by grubbing among the overturned and broken stones. As the priesthoods were not considerate enough to label their monuments, there is little left today even to excite curiosity. Fortunately, however, the esoteric tradition survives in the radical subconscious, and its violated schools and colleges need not be physically restored. When such restoration is attempted, the buildings usually reveal that they were designed as symbols of the cosmos. If the mystery system existed in the Western Hemisphere, as the landmarks indicate, it must have produced its initiates and adepts. Excuse me. These, in turn, These, in turn, became the leaders and survivors of their peoples. The wonder-working hero, whose deeds enriched all tribal traditions, always and everywhere performed the same miracles, possessed the same powers, and made the same personal sacrifices. The mystery school required not only a hierarchy for its maintenance and perpetuation, but also appropriate places of initiation, partly underground or adjacent to grottos and caverns. It required also a body of lore peculiarly significant, participation in which conferred special rights and privileges. A people which had reached the mental platform of the Mayas would not have accepted a philosophy of life that was without profound and significant values. Pagan priesthoods did not initiate those of feeble mind, but selected for spiritual advancement persons of high attainment and mature judgment. Balls. Albert Reville, Albert Reville, in the Hibbard Lectures, 1894, notes of the religion of the plumed serpent. There was something mysterious and occult about the priesthood of this deity, as though it were possessed of divine secrets or promises, the importance of which it would be dangerous to undervalue. It is fortunate, indeed, to at least one manuscript relating to the religious mysteries formerly practiced in the Mayan area has been recovered. Cool. The Popol Vuh, or the Senate Book of the Quiches. Dude, how do you say it? Quiches? Quiches? The record of the community has survived the numerous vicissitudes which have conspired to prevent the perpetuation of the literary monuments of Central America. It was tolerated by the early missionaries who, observing certain similarities to their own scriptures, preserved the work as a means of persuading the Indians to a more speedy baptism. In the 17th century, it was rescued from a fate worse than oblivion by the Dominican monk Don Ramon de Ordonez y Aguiar, dean and chancellor of the Archbishopric of Ciudad Real. The works, let's see here, let me move it a little like this. The works. Oh no. Real, blah, blah, blah. Oh no. The work was deposited in the library of the convent of Chichicastenango. Chichicastenango. By its scholiast, Chimines, where it remained until 1830. Chimines, Ximenes, Chimines. I'm not sure. The manuscript of the Popol Vuh was rediscovered about 1855 by Dr. Scherzer in the library of the University of San Carlos, Guatemala City. Through the industry and scholarship of that ardent antiquarian, the Abbé Brasseur de Bourbourg, this mysterious book of the Quiches. Do you guys know are you telling me how to say quiche? Hey, Code! Yay! Prelly, welcome, dude! Awesome! Quiches. I don't know. This mysterious book of the Quiches came at last to the French language, where it lingered for years awaiting English translation. Dr. Scherzer was responsible for a Spanish version published in Vienna in 1856. The first English translation has remained practically unknown to students of Central America archaeology. It is as it appeared serially in The Word, a magazine devoted to theosophical and related subjects. The translation was made by Kenneth S. Guthrie, M.A., Ph.D., M.D., and was based upon the French text. And then it says, there's a little asterisk there. It says, the Popol Vuh commenced with the issue of The Word for October 1905. Damn. I wonder what right, is there, man. Okay. A New English translation from the Spanish of Adrian Racinos has just been issued by the University of Oklahoma Press. This was published in 1944, BT Dub, so that didn't really just happen. This version is by Delia Goetz and Sylvanus G. Morley, and includes important introductory and commentary material. Writing under the pseudonym Aretas, James Price, James Price, Pryse, Price, issued part of the Popol Vuh with learned commentaries under the title The Book of the Azure Veil. This ran in Lucifer, a theosophical magazine, between September 1894 and February 1895. It concluded with a note that circumstances made it impossible for the translator to finish the work. Price suggests that the god Quetzalcoatl was known in Peru under the name of Amaru. He writes, "From the latter name comes our word America. Amaruca is literally translated land of the plumed serpent. The priests of this god of peace, from their chief center in the Cordilleras, once ruled both Americas. All the red men who have remained true to the ancient religion are still under their sway. One of their strong centers was in Guatemala, and of their order was the author of the book called Popol Vuh. Although Dr. Scherzer published his copy under the title Las Historias del Origen de los Indios de Guatemala par el RPF Francisco Ximenez, this is misleading. Ximenez was not the author, but acted in the capacity of scribe, translator, and commentator. The work is said to have been compiled originally in the 17th century by a Guatemalan who had been converted to Christianity. Most American Indians are unsatisfactory converts, for they accept new beliefs without discarding old convictions. This is a most fortunate state of affairs, as there is little indication that the indigenous mythology has been compromised. The source of the material compiled by this convert is completely unknown, but it could well have been derived from a secret book or from oral tradition guarded in the sanctuaries of the mysteries. To have secured it, the compiler must himself have been a priest or initiate. Certainly, the Popol Vuh is by far the outstanding available text on pre-Columbian mythology and cosmogony. So let's just look it up finally. Chicayan scribe, the Chicayan scribe. I mean, it's a place, it's a people, right? And I'm butchering it, I think. We'll find out. I can't see. Chike. Oh, it's like Chichen Itzan, so it's Chichi. Maybe let's find out. It just pulled up chicken. That's not what I want. Chichie. Oh, dude, no wonder. I spelled it wrong. Or did I? Did they do that? Did I do that? I don't know. Let's try again. Okay. Q-U-I-C-H. It's like quiche. Quiche. It's just like quiche, right? Or quichean. Is that what this word is? It's quiche, and I just couldn't even see it the whole time? Quichean. Am I confusing different words? Quiche. Okay, let's see here. Old English definition and meaning. Of or designating of the Quiche people. Is the quiche people? Are they the quiche people? Quiche, probably, right? Quiche. Q-U-I-C-H-E. Quiche. Well, I wish there was one that said it right here. I wish someone said it. I could hear them say it. Quiche. Quichean. I don't know. Kitchen. Just trying to go by the phonetics here. Kitchen. Okay. All right. I said that enough. All right. The Kitchen scribe, in his introduction to the Popol Vuh, writes, "Oh no, you guys, what's happening with my mouth?" The following is what we shall write, and we place it in writing because, since the word of God has been promulgated, and hereafter during the cycle of Christianity, the book of the azure green veil is no longer to be seen, in which it could be clearly perceived that it had come from the further shore of the sea, which book has been called the record of our existence in the overshadowing world, and how we there beheld light and life. Note, this translation by Price is somewhat fuller than that given by Guthrie, and seems to be more in the spirit of Quiche tradition. The implication is that the work originated behind the azure veil. This can have two meanings, either the veil which divides the spiritual universe from the material world, or the veil in the temple of initiation, behind which are the seven lords of the great heart. The Popol Vuh consists of a mythology gradually mingling in its descent with the beginnings of history. The early part deals almost entirely with superhuman beings, and the latter part with the heroic deeds of authentic personages. It opens with a description of the creation. All was calm and silent, and the face of the earth was not yet to be seen. In the eternal darkness and quietude was the Creator, the Lord and Maker, and Gukumats, the plumed serpent. They were surrounded with green and azure, and they were those who engendered. Then the Word came and spake with them, and they joined their counsels. Those who engender then said, "Let it be done. Let the waters retire and cease to obstruct, to the end that it be sown, and that the light of day shine in the heavens and upon the earth. For we shall receive neither glory nor honor from all that we have created and formed until human beings exist, endowed with sentience." Thus the Creator said, "Earth," and immediately it was formed. Digested from the Popol Vuh, the mystic and heroic sagas of the Quiches of Central America by Lewis Spence in London, 1908. And that time it's spelled with a K, Kiches, Quiches. The book proceeds much in the spirit of the scriptures of other nations. It is divided generally into four parts: cosmogony, theogony, anthropology, and regeneration through initiation. It is presented in semi-historical form and includes the initiation of its heroes into the mysteries of Chibaba. There's a picture here, presentation of the bat god from the Codex Adversary, Mayor 41. This deity, under the name Kamazotz, occurs as Lord of the Bats in the Mysteries of Chibaba. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's someone's head. Oh my God. What is that? Is that their heart? Their guts? What? In the other hand? Okay. It's so tiny. I don't even know if you guys are going to be able to see it. The heroes of the Popol Vuh are subjected to several ordeals or tests of courage, fortitude, and skill. The seventh test took place in the House of the Bat. This was a subterranean labyrinth initiated by weird monsters, and ruled over by Kamazotz, Kamazats, a fearful creature with the body of a man and the wings and head of a bat. Naturally, the account is clothed in the culture symbolism of the Mayas, but it is certainly to be compared with such productions as the Finnish Kalevala. I, I used to know how to say that, right? Kalevala, and the Icelandic Eddas. Guthrie presents a number of important parallelisms to the mysteries of the Egyptians, Chaldeans, and Greeks. According to him, the 12 trials or tests through which the neophytes pass are analogous with the signs of the zodiac. He goes so far as to hazard the speculation that the 12 princes of Chibaba were the rulers of the Atlantean Empire, and their final destruction referred to the tragic end of Atlantis. The Popol Vuh followed the tradition form by involving its principal characters in a series of superhuman and supernatural adventures. The work is certainly an account of the perilous journey, which is the usual means employed to veil thinly the story of initiation. By comparison with the oral traditions of the northern Amerindians, Amerindian tribes. That is not, I don't know. Northern Amerindian tribe. The legend unfolds what Dr. Paul Radden beautifully calls the road of light. Medicine priests have freely acknowledged that in dreams and trances they could leave their bodies and travel to the abodes of the gods and the dead. To make this journey while still living is initiation, for it is conscious participation in the fact of immortality. In some cults, the neophyte was given sacred drugs to intensify his psychic faculties, as in the case of the notorious peyote sect, or was subjected to hypnotic influence, like the followers of the ghost shirt religion. By some means, a condition of death was simulated, and the consciousness or superior self passed through, certain internal experiences. Of which at least a partial memory was preserved. The entire process of creation took place within the green and azure coils of the plumed serpent. On several continents, the serpent was among the important symbols of the initiate priest. Sometimes the serpent stands erect and is crowned, as in Egypt, or it may be winged, as among the Mongolians, or feathered and plumed, as throughout the Americas. Obviously, the natives did not intend to imply that they believed in the actual existence of winged snakes, for no such creatures ever existed among them. The serpent was the wisdom symbol, and when plumed, it meant that wisdom had been given wings and had become spirit wisdom or illumination. Price suggests that Matthew 10:16 explains the symbolism of the snake bird. Behold, I send you as sheep, neophytes, into the midst of wolves, the profane. Be ye therefore wise as serpents, magicians, and guileless as doves, mystics. I love that. Okay, so, well, Mr. Price was a Greek scholar. Of course he was. Greeks are so cool. And his translation differed slightly from the King James Version. He felt that the quetzal had the same meaning as dove, because quetzal's a bird too, and that the creature combining the serpent wisdom and the bird intuition or inspiration represented the adept in whom the mind and heart doctrine were completely reconciled. It's awesome. So there's a picture here of the feathered serpent protecting a warrior. An original tracing from the frescoes in the Temple of the Tigers at Chichen Itza. Looking at it like this, it reminded me of Cocopelli. Plus, that picture I just did of Kali, was there snakes, serpent, and then the bed of serpents that Vishnu lays on. Are they feathered? Or is it just like, what is that specific kind? The rattler that has that big, yeah. Okay. The conflict between the initiate and the adversary, or the paths of white and black magic, is always present. In the story of Deganawida, Deganawida, the power of evil was personified by Atotaro, an old war chieftain who had a cluster of venomous serpents on his head in place of hair. Ooh. The Mexican Quetzalcoatl was attacked by the red god of war. The adversary personified either older cults which opposed the establishment of the benevolent mysteries, or later cults responsible for the destruction of these institutions. In either case, an inferior state of spiritual enlightenment was implied. The mysteries were institutions of liberation and were naturally opposed by groups seeking to keep their people in bondage through ignorance. Oh my goodness. The struggle was, therefore, between religion as temporal authority and the mystery faith, the eternal road of light. The ruins of the past explain why it was the common belief that the men of good spirit, the initiates, were sacrificed to the material ambitions of temporal rulers. Dude, I saw this commercial yesterday. I tried to watch what's it called? Daylight come and me won't go home. 6 foot. Anybody, what's that movie? That movie that has that movie. It's Beetlejuice. I tried to watch Beetlejuice, and like when I turned my television on, it was like advertised, watch Beetlejuice for free. And I said, click. And then as it was playing, there were like commercials that were happening and stuff. And then as usual, I just like lost interest and started doing other things. But before that happened, I saw a commercial, and I don't, was it, I don't know who was the commercial for Geico, or what was not, or was it for like some pharmaceutical company or something, and it showed them that Zeus was there to like help with some little problem, and then Medusa was there too. And they were like upset, and they were almost, it was like they were the bitches of whoever this company was. And it made me feel a weird way. Anyways, just thought I'd share. See how I couldn't even remember who they were. I just remember being like, what are they implying here? That Zeus and Medusa are their bitches? Is that what they're saying? Anyways, let's see how long this American mysticism goes on. American Indian mysticism. Okay, so it's been an hour and a half. I probably should just call it, right? Or should I do one more? It's not the shortest, but it does look interesting. It looks so interesting. 71 to 86. Okay. I'm so indecisive, y'alls. Deganawida. All right. Let's call it for the night. And we'll come back and we'll read more tomorrow. American Indian mysticism. So that's what we'll start with. And these aren't in chapters, they just have some titles here. But dang, y'alls, this is pretty fascinating stuff. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks for anybody who comes to take a listen later. Man, I super apologize for the multitude of mispronunciations, but we're learning new things, I hope. I love you guys. I love you all. And hey, we'll see you soon. Hopefully tomorrow. Do it like we feel it. Mwah.